Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for this explainer video about the PAS scheme, which we'll talk about very shortly. I'm joined by Penny Hayward, who is a diploma holder at the Spiritualist National Union, and I'm going to hand straight over to Penny to explain what the PAS scheme is. Penny.
Thanks, Alv. Yes, it's good to be here, and it's a good thing we're doing. I think a few people are interested to know a bit more, but don't know who to ask. So the Platform Accreditation Scheme is otherwise known as PAS, and it is a scheme which helps people to learn how to work on our church platforms. But of course, it's not just in the physical churches. We also have online services. We had them before the pandemic, but we've certainly got them now. And so the Platform Accreditation Scheme, PAS, is part theory, part practical, and putting the theory into practice. It incorporates a bit of history about spiritualism. It's the theory behind mediumship, and there's also about speaking and demonstrating and how you conduct yourself on the platform, whether it's virtual or real world.
I really enjoy the PAS scheme when I did it, and I've always encouraged people to do it. But could you tell us, Penny, who is it aimed at?
Well, I think ideally it certainly started out being aimed at people who had been going to development groups, had been developing their mediumship already. In some cases, they might have been under the wing of a circle leader or a church of some kind, and were then seen as being proficient enough to then go the next steps towards working on the platform itself, so in front of a live audience. And I still think that it's the case that it's ideally suited towards people who have some experience of connecting with the spirit world, giving evidential information, but also there's the philosophical side, which we call the address. And so the Platform Accreditation Scheme is a foundation course, if you like, which helps prepare people towards working in the public domain for the speaking and the demonstrating side of things.
Sounds great. And I remember it very fondly, and I'm sure lots of people would really benefit from, you know, taking on this new step of their development journey. So someone's decided that it's for them. They've got a little bit of experience behind them, perhaps working on the platform and in the circle, and importantly, an interest in the philosophy of spiritualism, which is so important to us as a religion. How do we enroll?
So you would go to the SNU, Spiritualist National Union website, and I'm sure you're going to do something fancy afterwards and be able to just ping it up there on the screen for us. And so you would go to the SNU website, I Want to Learn, and there's lots of different training schemes and courses and so on and so forth. And you would find the Platform Accreditation Scheme link, and you would then enroll through the website. I think it's important to explain that because sometimes there's a bit of confusion. Some people like to enroll on the coursework, the theory side of things, and not worry about the practical side of things. So we have what's called Teaching and Practice of Spiritualism 1, which I believe there's already an explainer video about, and this is a copy of the coursework, and that gives you the foundation. When somebody decides they want to do the Platform Accreditation Scheme, they either select the option which incorporates the Teaching and Practice of Spiritualism 1 if they haven't already done it. If they have already done TPS1, as we affectionately call it, then they would select the option that is for the platform accreditation scheme without the coursework. So there are two different ways that you can go about it. Some people do the coursework and enjoy it so much, they think, oh, I want to do more. So then they progress on to the PAS scheme. So that's fine as well. The coursework is designed to dovetail into the training. So if you decide you want to do the platform accreditation scheme, but you haven't done the coursework, you would select that option and you would receive a pack in the post, which would include the document I just held up. It would include a logbook, which you would fill in, and it gives you learning objectives which coincide with the learning objectives of the coursework. You have practical training sessions, and with your pack you would receive a welcome letter, and you would receive a list of approved PAS trainers, and then it's your responsibility to email them. You'll be supplied with their email addresses and ask about enrolling on those sessions.
It sounds great, and it's many years since I did my PAS, but I do know an awful lot of work's gone into it to make it so much clearer and more flexible. And just hearing you talk about that now, I can just imagine that someone who is interested, it's going to be so much easier for them to get going in the right way for them. So that's really exciting
That's
to hear.
the idea. Yeah, absolutely. And there is also a list of online platforms that people can practice on, that they can do that, because they have to have 25 services signed off in their logbook, which is the practical experience. So that's doing prayers and the speaking and demonstrating that we mentioned. So everything comes together, and that's what I really want to highlight. So I know people get excited, oh, I've booked on this course, and they're like, they want to know now. But wait till it comes in the post, because everything is set out in the logbook on how to go about the next steps. So there are lots of different elements to doing the platform accreditation scheme. There's your coursework and your course tutor, which gets assigned through somebody else. That's not me, I'm afraid. And then you have your trainers for the practical experience, and you get in touch with the schedulers who will schedule you in for the online services. I just thought of something to just let you know. There's two different avenues to take on the platform accreditation scheme. One is PAS, and that's a real world experience. And what we mean by that is you're already starting to go out and serve the churches, whether you do that on your own or with somebody else. And you would take your logbook along, and somebody from the church committee would sign off to say that you had attended. Alongside that, you would be doing your coursework. You can do your coursework and get it out the way if you want to, and then you've got your practical training sessions with an approved trainer. The other way that people can do it, and is very, very popular, is through SNUi. So that's an online international platform for the Spiritualist National Union. And there are a lot of people in a lot of countries all over the world that don't necessarily have spiritualist churches, but they see the online services, and they've got the idea, maybe because they've been to the Arthur Finlay College in the past. And so there is PASI. And Pass I is run through SNUi. So maybe this is why sometimes people get a bit confused. And then, of course, lockdown made it more confusing because all the real world people had to do online services. But now that we're out of those restrictions and the churches are open, we would expect people who are doing Pass without the I to do the training and their services in real world churches. And Pass with the I is for online services, which is very different. Okay.
That's really good to know, Penny. And I know this video will be going out to people all around the world. And it just means that if you're not in the UK, where most of our spiritualist churches are, it means you've still got that opportunity, or you've not been forgotten about. There is an avenue for you to go down. So that is really good. So once people are on the Pass scheme, would you recommend that people did other things to support that journey?
Yeah, I think it's mediumship and spiritualism is such a huge and broad topic that I would encourage people to do other workshops and other circles and development groups. And I know the other Finlay College do like 1 and 2 hour or 1 day, half day things online. And I'd really encourage people to do other training and development alongside their Pass to bolster up their understanding and experiences. Because I think sometimes people get comfortable in a group, they meet the same people, and perhaps they get to know a lot about each other. So branching out into other workshops, other development groups will really expand their experience and their knowledge and understanding, and really excel them forward. So I'd encourage it if they could.
That's really good advice, definitely.
Yeah.
So Penny, you've told us a little bit about what happened once you've enrolled. Is there anything else that you can tell us about what will happen while you're on the Pass scheme, and particularly as it moves to its conclusion?
Well, I think the best thing about the platform accreditation scheme is that it's a real journey for the person. They learn about spiritualism, they learn about themselves, they develop the ability to deliver a spiritualist service. And as you pointed out earlier, the address, the philosophy is a key element to our services. And in fact, I'm biased because the address is my favorite part. And that philosophy, or that address, is about helping people to understand how we lead our lives as a spiritualist, how we connect to God, how we connect to each other. And so it's a real journey for people. So I'd really encourage anybody who's doing the scheme to take their time. Sometimes I think some people are just super keen and they're like, I want to just get this done. And that's fine, you know, but you've got 3 years as well. So enjoy it, take your time with it. Because it's a personal journey as much as it is a journey of learning how to present yourself, how to speak, how to deliver information from the spirit world. So there's a lot to learn and a lot to grow from. I don't know if I've even answered your question, but I think that was pretty important to share.
No, I think you have, Penny, and I think what is perhaps different from when I did it all those years ago is that there is much more emphasis now on what it means to be a spiritualist and what it means to have our way of life and to be an exponent and a representative of our religion, which of course, if you're on the platform, that's what you are. And this scheme just really helps you to polish and to nurture that so that you're presenting your mediumistic abilities in the best possible way that you can. So that's I'm all for it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
How are people assessed, Penny? Can you tell us something about what people can expect?
Yeah, so along the platform accreditation scheme, at the very end, the last thing that you'll do is what we call a mock final assessment board. So short, we call it a FAB, which where, with some people's nerves, they're probably not feeling it's not so fab after all. But it's a final assessment board. So you do get the opportunity to do a mock final assessment board, which helps you to understand what will be asked of you, what you need to present, how you need to present, and how long the day can be. I don't think some people really realize how your nerves play a part and how long a process it is. So what happens at the end when you go through your mock final assessment board, irrespective of whatever your trainers say, you still can apply to do your actual real world board. And involved in that will be some interview questions, which helps us to get to know a little bit about the candidate, how they came into spiritualism, some of their thoughts, and it's a good way to get them to relax a little bit. Then there will be 10 questions on speaking, 10 on demonstrating. All of them will be taken from the TPS1 coursework. And so there's no surprises. If you've done the coursework and you've paid attention to the key learning outcomes, then you'll know the answers. So it's not too hard. After that, there's a break, and then there'll be a real world service or an online service if you're doing it on SNUi. And there's 3 assessors, and they assess you throughout the process. You'll do a prayer, the address, and the demonstration. And in the demonstration, you would do 2 evidential contacts to 2 different people in the congregation, giving evidential information that they can validate and understand. And if there's a message. And all of that's done in 15 minutes. Now, it's important to just highlight, because I think some people are fixated on 7.5 minutes for one contact and 7.5 minutes for the other. And I'd really say to people, just, be aware of the time and the timing. If you practice it, you'll get to know a rhythm of the 15 minutes. If it's 16 minutes or 14 minutes, it's okay. The timing is secondary. If it gets to 20 minutes, we'd be sort of a bit worried, because we need to get through other people. But the 15 minutes is there because there's more than one person being assessed. And if everybody did 20 minutes or half an hour, it would be a really long time and a really long service with the addresses. So that 15 minutes is so we get an idea as assessors of your ability to connect with 2 different communicators for 2 different recipients. If one is 6 minutes and the other is 11 minutes, that's fine. So I think there's a bit of a myth out there that it has to be 7 minutes exactly or something.
And my top tip is to look at the clock before you start your demonstration, because I forgot. I had to leave the timing up for the spirit world.
I know sometimes we forget these things, but there's usually always a clock somewhere or something like that. And try not, I'd say to people, try not to sort of go like that. And just if you have that intention to connect for 2 communicators, for 2 different people in about 15 minutes, the spirit world won't let you down.
Absolutely. And the good thing about PAS is as well that you've had all the practice to completing your logbook, and it just leads you to that point where you're fully equipped to do what is asked of you.
You gain confidence. That's the idea, that throughout the process, you start to gain a bit more confidence in what you're doing and how you're doing it. I need to just say as well that on the SNUi, the PassI, there's been some updates, very recent updates on the way the scheme is running online. And SNUi and the Ecom committee have sort of joined forces with this initiative, and that's to give people who are really new, that may not have experience doing an actual service, because as we mentioned, a lot of people around the world don't have churches. They may have seen an online service or may have seen a service somewhere else, but they don't themselves have the experience. So there is now going to be feedback sessions for people who may be really new on their journey. So even though I said earlier, it's ideally aimed towards people that have already been developing their mediumship, and I still encourage that. If people are feeling confident enough to start putting themselves forward and in the public eye, because those services are with an audience, then, you know, go for it. I wouldn't say not to do it, but just be prepared. There are now some feedback sessions after each time to help some of those people that maybe from international audiences.
That's fantastic. We talked about PAS being part of a pathway and a journey earlier on. And I know for you, Penny, as a diploma holder, you know, that journey has been a really important aspect of your spiritualism. Can you just, before we finish, tell us a little bit about what might be beyond PAS for people, if that's what they want to do?
Yeah, sure. I was really smiling then because I thought you were going to say really long journey. And it is a long journey, actually. So I don't mean to be too cheeky, but yeah, look, after the platform accreditation scheme, there is the certificate of the Spiritualist National Union in Speaking and Demonstrating. Once you achieve or go on to do that, it then opens up into other avenues. So some people might go on to do art, like spirit art. Other people might go on to do different forms of mediumship that springs off from the speaking and demonstrating side of things. We have other courses as well in other disciplines of mediumship. So if you go on to do your certificate in speaking and demonstrating, you would need to do the TPS2, which I happen to have here. So that is taking you up to the next level. So it's going a bit deeper into understanding spiritualism, understanding yourself on your journey as a spiritualist. It's got a bigger emphasis on the philosophy of spiritualism. So of course, we've got our 7 principles, which is the fundamental basis of our philosophy. And so it helps people to really grow their ability to do a spiritualist service in both the speaking and demonstrating. After that, there's a lot more coursework if you want to go on to do your diploma. So there's about another 3 or 4 different coursework courses that you would take. So it is, without being too cheeky, a long journey. But I wanted to say to people that for myself on the journey, I did what was B1 back in the day, which was basic foundation. And I really enjoyed it. So I went on and did what was then SD1, which TPS1 has replaced. And I thought, oh, that was pretty good. That was interesting. And it challenged me, like I was learning things and I was contemplating things. And so I went and did SD4, which has been replaced now with TPS2. And again, I found I really enjoyed it, and I got a lot out of it, and I was growing myself as a person, as a spiritual person. And so I thought, oh, I've done all that. Maybe I'll do my pass then. And it was just at the time pass was coming in. So, and at that time, we didn't have the training and the support like we do now. So it was a baptism of fire going into a final assessment board. But I did it, I got through, and I was already on to the next courses, because I just found I really enjoyed all those courses, the written coursework. And the next thing I knew, I'd done all the written coursework, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I may as well do my CSNU, see what happens. And I had started working in the churches by then, I might add. And then I found myself doing my diploma. So it was something that happened organically. And I'd really say to people, because after that I did my teaching, my CSNU in teaching, and then my DSNU in teaching. So I've gone down roads and avenues I didn't plan on. It just evolved. So, and now I'm doing my efficiency. So, you know, you just don't know where you're going to end up, Alv. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I'd say to people, just enjoy it. If you're enjoying it, do it and see where it takes you.
Fantastic. Well, as spiritualists, we know that there's life after death. And Penny, today you've told us that there's life after PAS as well. A whole pathway for people to go down. Penny, thanks for joining us today. Thank you so much for you explaining PAS in such a lovely, clear way. And I'm sure people will be excited. If you're watching this and you feel like PAS is for you, seize the day. And we'll put all the details below this video to make it easy for you to enroll. Thank you.
Thank you.